All right, Todd, thanks for coming on this call with me. You and I met online. We haven't met in person, but we've been talking for like a year plus. I think we met because of the gurus of the content creator economy saying, reach out to people online and see what they're building and just talk to people. It's like the way information is exchanged, which in reality, people have been doing that throughout like all of human history, just not online. Now it's like a whole new thing. You can meet people in different places. But yeah, we stayed in touch that way and just kind of saw what each other are working on. So do you want to just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, what you're into?
Definitely, yeah. Thanks, Brady. Before I felt the draw to reach out and just say what's up to a fellow creator, you could call it, I guess, on Twitter. I loved your nature pictures, and we both you live more in the mountains than I do, but in mountainous areas, and just drawn to that vibe and the focus on nature and heart and soul. So, my work is in podcasting. I've done B2B podcast production for the better part of 8 years, and I manage the post-production process with an agency, and we focus on B2B for, we've done data companies and other software companies, an SEO organization. So reaching out, kind of spreading my wings myself as a creator recently, as you have, but my background is in the post-production stuff. So the factory that makes the podcast.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was really interesting to me just because I've always been interested in the idea of a podcast, and it's so cool to have seen so many podcasts just like sprout up in recent years. It's like I don't want to say everyone, but so many people have podcasts now or experiment with it. So I just wanted to experiment with the format, so I've been hopping on calls with people. But yeah, how do you feel about like podcasts as like a medium of distributing information these days compared to other stuff like a tutorial YouTube video or other forms of social media content?
Well, I have always been drawn to storytelling, and so I really love the open-ended format that podcasting gives people to tell stories, to share stories. I like that the distribution of podcasting really tore down the traditional gatekeepers, so no longer do you need a spot on a well-known media network, and you don't need, the barrier to entry is so low for anybody to be able to create and also distribute really high-quality content. And so everything from the gear to the software and the back-end infrastructure that you need to create good-sounding shows, whereas before it seemed like there was more of a need for a really high-end studio and a team. And then again, the gatekeepers that are going to sign off, yeah, we want this programming at this time, and you don't need that anymore. And obviously you and I right now are recording in a home setup. But again, I think, and you show this with what you teach is the video and the audio and the post-production. It gets easier and easier to create content. Maybe not that looks like you're watching ESPN, but that's easy for people to engage with. So gatekeepers coming down, easy distribution, low barrier to entry, and I love the open-endedness of the format, that we can do conversation style like this. You can do kind of presentation styles. You can do bring guests onto your shows, or if you have a co-founder, if you have people in an organization, you can talk about things that are happening within your business. So do like kind of more an internally produced podcast where you're just talking to people in your organization. And then you've got long form, and you can chop it up into shorts and do the audio only through podcast players. So I'm all about it. It's not going anywhere, but I think it is evolving. And in my 8 years of working in podcasting, I've seen some evolutions, and I'm really excited about what the future will hold, and what people innovate and create, and how it changes just to meet the changing times.
Yeah, totally. What I like about it is like it is like you were mentioning. It's like just a raw person-to-person conversation. You kind of, it's the conversation just flows. So it's like, I think Rick Rubin said this about podcasts. It was like you get these little. It's almost like you're eavesdropping on like a private conversation in a way, even though people are publishing it, but you get to hear people's perspectives in a way that's not performative. Like so much of social media, and when I got turned on to the idea of like the creator economy, for lack of a better word, but just the idea that you can make your own thing and put it out there on the world today because of the tools have gotten easier to distribute videos or writing online and the platforms out there. But so much of that has been like performative. Like you gotta hook people, and people are doing different gimmicks to try to like hold attention because people have short attention spans. But with a podcast, you're not really trying to do that. Like it's much slower paced. So you're really only going to hold the attention of people that are interested in what you're talking about or that are naturally drawn to the subject matter, really.
I completely agree. Another point to that, often we listen to podcasts, and even if they're a video format like this, people might stream on their phone, and then you set your phone down and you're going about your business. You're often multitasking. And so whether it's driving or doing dishes or putzing around your house, there's, as you said, this intimacy, this connection with the conversation. So a lot of people won't sit and just watch you and I speak for the whole duration of the time. You're also maybe even switching over to another window. You're going to get up and you're going to go in the kitchen and grab some water, but there's this sense of I'm going about my life and I'm listening in, and I feel this closeness and this intimacy with the person who's speaking, and that's always really struck a chord with me.
Yeah, it's like you can go deeper with a conversation versus like if you're just scrolling on social media or trying to find something to watch, or you're trying to distract yourself. There's not like a lot of intention behind that when people do that. Like usually when I go to social media, I've gotten better at this, but when you go, it's because I'm trying to procrastinate on something. So I go and I just start scrolling because I'm like, oh, I need quick dopamine blast in my brain. But when you go to like a long form video, like on YouTube that teaches something or talks about something, or a podcast in this sense, you're choosing it because of the people speaking and or the subject matter, like what they're talking about. So I think the fact that you can go about your day and listen to these things and gain information, take what is valuable to you, share that with other people, it's just a really interesting way of how information is distributed these days. And there's so many podcasts on so many different things, but it's cool that that's kind of proliferating in the world.
I completely agree.
Totally. So yeah, we had talked about the creator economy. We touched on it a little bit. We had discussed before this call like the idea of like burnout in the creator economy, and I feel like a lot of people that got excited about the idea of like, oh, I can create my own thing. I can like pursue what's interesting to me and like talk about it or share stuff about it, instead of, oh, I just got to do my job that maybe doesn't fulfill me in any way, but it pays the bills. There's like another path. We're inspired by the idea that there is another way to live life and beyond just, do work and then live your life. You can actually pursue your interests. So that was really appealing, I think, to so many people. And that idea has spread in recent years. It's like the spread of the creator economy inspiration. But, and then once people kind of start, they kind of follow different people's methods. Maybe they've bought a course or they read certain people's stuff. And I feel like I read an article about it recently, like 95% of people that start like get burnt out and then stop. Just because, I think they're like trying to follow someone else's system, and then that kind of pulls them out of their own natural interests, their own natural passions, because they become obsessed with either, oh, I got to do the growth hack, or I got to do this, I got to like make my course this way, or whatever it is. And they kind of lose touch with what they're naturally interested in. That definitely happened to me. So I'm speaking from firsthand experience, but I've talked to a lot of people that have experienced something similar. Can you speak to anything about that? Like this idea of like putting on a fake persona in order to grow the thing that you wanted to grow, but then losing touch with that? Have you had any experience with that, or know of other people who have?
Yeah, absolutely. I can also speak from firsthand experience. So I think that speech is, let's think about the difference between speech and voice. And for me, I was thinking, as you were saying, the creator economy, and just get it out there. Be consistent. You're always producing. You're catching the attention, and then you're bringing people in, and then you're building this community. So through this, it's constantly speaking, constantly creating or writing. But just creating and writing, I'll call it speaking, isn't the same as voice. And so I think often you need to create a lot and you need to be speaking to then find your voice. But if you're just speaking without really knowing your voice, then that's, I think, when a lot of people reach that burnout or they lose their way. And I can speak from that being part of my path, and what I'm rediscovering is my voice, and not just finding my authentic voice, my heart, through the noise and through being inspired by what other people are doing, refining that through the discipline of consistently creating, but always going back to that North Star. And then the other part of that is, a voice is nothing when you're just speaking into a forest with no one to listen. So I might know my voice, but I also need to know the people that I want to connect with, and who might hear that voice, and also whose voice that's kind of drawing me in to be the best version of myself. So it's like a hand in glove thing, It's the community, that the voice just in an echo chamber is it's not impactful.
Totally. I love that that analogy, speaking versus voice, speech and voice. Because like when I started, I bought a bunch of people's courses, or I read people's newsletters, and it's like, got to be consistent, just put it out there. And then there's all these hacks like for different platforms, and I was like, okay, make a piece of content, spray it like wildfire everywhere, and just keep doing that. And then I found myself like mimicking other people's message about like personal branding or why you should post on social media. And I used to not be so into social media all the time. I wasn't consistent posting, and I still like taking time off from it. But in the idea of like trying to speak and always be publishing something, I definitely lost touch with my voice and like forgot what it is, which is like your style of expression and weaving your own values into that, and your own insights and observations, real world observations. And yeah, that's where the burnout happened, and I kind of just stopped for a little bit and needed to recenter, reassess everything. And then I started to realize like, oh yeah, I'm not actually really into talking about like why you should post on social media. Why am I even publishing about that? Like, yeah, I could publish on social media, but it should be about the things that I'm actually into, so I can share the thing that actually lights me up. Then hopefully that'll light up other people in connecting to their deeper purpose.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I'm there with you. It's like the performative, the stretching, the trying to fit what you're doing into a framework or into a system. I think there's a lot of value in knowing systems, and especially when you're early on, to be consistent. I think you need to think like a business in that you need to think about your systems and your schedules and your processes. However, if that drowns out, or like you said earlier, that just starts to feel like just your job, then I think you've really lost the essence of what this is all about. So really keeping the heart and the soul in what you're doing and why you're doing it. There's also value in the frameworks and the structures that really work. For instance, I see the certain formats and the hooks on Twitter that get me to want to read. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, I was so adverse to adopting those because I felt like I'm just a faker, or this isn't really me. This isn't really how I want to do things. So I think there's, it's all in the matter of degree. So it's like, how do you utilize those things that we know work, that we know help catch attention, without totally giving away our authenticity? It's almost like, how do we merge what's real within us maybe in a certain format without getting lost in those formats or other people's recipes or playbooks. So I really resonate with what you're saying, and I think maybe that's what drew us and have helped us collaborate in different ways, because I feel it too, and it's a balancing act every day.
Totally. Yeah, there's like burnout is real, but there's still some value in the structure and the strategy. I think you just, when you're getting started, it might be good to follow someone else's system, see what they have to say, because they might be a couple steps ahead of you. And that's a good way to get you started. But I think take what is valuable to you, what helps you, and then you can maybe start with someone else's system, but then, you know, their hook suggestions or whatever it is. But then you kind of evolve into your own form and your own strategy. And I think that's really important for people. So it's important to have that structure in place, but being able to explore and let your own voice come out is really important. So I think getting started is always just really hard and tricky, and it's rough in the beginning. You think like a plant when it starts growing. It's so vulnerable to forces, like we both kind of live near the mountains, and when stuff starts growing, it can still get cold at night. Like it'll be warm during the day, but then it can still snow. So it's like these things are so vulnerable. So it's the same with people when they're starting a new project. It's like sensitive, but being able to push through the challenges in the beginning and the discomfort and just keep going. You eventually experiment, you experience different things, you see what doesn't feel right and then what does feel right, and then your voice emerges from that struggle in a lot of ways.
Definitely. And so I think it's so helpful to think in terms of progress in the beginning. And if you're frustrated that you don't feel like you know your voice, or you can really clearly share that with the world in an authentic way, then think in the short term that success looks like just showing up. And I think that's just I'm kind of echoing what you were saying there. Just think about being willing and being courageous enough to recognize that people might not hear what you're saying, or what you're saying might flop and your format might not work and whatever. But just be courageous enough and recognize that success comes in the ability to be able to fall down and get back up again, as cliche as that sounds.
No, yeah, it's true. That advice holds strong even today. I kind of went through that when I was starting. I was kind of like, I had been working in a job in tech, basically software and coaching. We sold courses, but also software. And my job was really diverse. It was like email marketing, but also video production. And I was like, for some reason I was called to the video, and wanted to I was like, oh, okay, I gotta make a course and coaching or something about video before I can do the things that I really want to do, like talk about spirituality or share creative writing or the importance of connecting with nature. I was like, before I can do any of that, I gotta make this business and get it set up so that it can support that. And it wasn't a great approach, just because, like I said, I got burnt out. I lost touch with my voice in a lot of ways, but I worked through all that, and I was like, okay, I made a mini course. You took my mini course about video.
Yeah.
The early version is an email course. Got video modules now, but I set up that in a simple coaching program, and I've helped a few people, but I was like, I don't want to be the video tips guy. So as I was going through that, working through that, I got immense clarity on the things I'm actually into. And I really started to do that, creative writing, talking about my adventures in the mountains or that kind of stuff. And I started playing my music again more. And so I wanted to share that stuff. But I was like, okay, I got to put an end to this chapter and I'm going to share it. It's a system I made. And that can just be the thing that gets you started, trying to put your voice out into the world and make connections with people. So even if you start on one thing, it doesn't mean you're locked into it. I think that was my biggest fear. I was like, oh, if I publish on this, then I'm locked into that niche. Niche, tomato, I say niche. But I think starting is one of the most important things, because you can always pivot and transition, and you don't know what could grow out of a certain experience or a chapter of your life that you do.
I think that is so strong. And I was went through something similar where I thought what I start with is what I marry, and then I'll be a quitter if I go a different way. And I think there's so much to be said about a willingness to release, and also a willingness to embrace the fluidity of life, and that we're all evolving, and interests are always changing, and our desires are always changing. And when people, my sense is the people that I am inspired by, as their direction, as their focus might evolve, you can sense when it's authentic as opposed to contrived, and people love to go on that journey with you. People love, we're all journeying together, and so I think releasing, for me, it was releasing this more rigid, serious, like, this is my thing, and now I've got my stake in the ground, and I planted my flag, and so this is it. So I'm with you there. I think that's a freeing feeling, and it lends itself to the creative authenticity.
Yeah, I think we can get so locked into our identity with like a certain project.
Yes.
Yeah, like I kind of like reached a point where I was like, oh, I can't like pursue the things that I really want to do because, it's like harder to make money, or it's not as easy to make money and like afford all the things I want to do. And it's like a limited way of thinking in a lot of ways. But I started doing the video thing, and I was like, I gotta be the video tips guy. Oh, this is how everyone else is doing it. These people that have big YouTube followings that are talking about video, and they make it really perfect. And I was like, I started making the course, and I realized halfway through, I was like, wait, I'm not like a perfectionist. I'm not like, that's me trying to perform if I try to pursue that, and it just feels wrong. So when I named my course, I was like, wait, I've kind of been a scrappy creator, which doesn't mean crappy, but it's like being efficient and minimalist without like overcomplicating things. So that's just like what I called the course, the Scrappy Creator's Guide to Simplifying Video. I needed to put an end to it, and then finish the project that I started, put it out to the world, and it was more about closure to me than like it being the thing that I become known for, because in the process of doing it, I reconnected with the things I'm more into, and I was like, wait, there's so much more to like my interests than this, and this is actually just a tool that helps me share my message and that kind of thing. So yeah, I just think you gotta be able to reconnect with your voice in the end, and I think sometimes you take the long path, but that just the challenges along the way and the phases help clarify what is truly valuable to you, what you actually appreciate, and what your voice is and what you want to share. So we can detach from a phase of our life, and we don't have to cling to that creative identity or that identity like I have to be this, I have to make things this way. No, like you said, we can evolve with everything, with the times, because we are human beings.
I think we have this tendency, all people, to take for granted the special insights and the knowledge and the skills that we have, maybe the inborn talents, and then we think, well, these come easily to us, so they must come easily to everybody, right? And I think something that happened, I wanted to point out that what's really interesting is you thought with the video course, okay, this just kind of needs I need to close the loop on this. I need to put it out, and it's as much for me to just kind of package it and be able to move on than anything else. But coming from where I was coming, and when I took the course, it was incredibly valuable to me, and it was this made video production a very approachable thing. And so I guess what I wanted to think through is, you might have thought, yeah, it's okay, scrappy, yes. You're not a perfectionist, no. You're just trying to get this thing finished. And then look what you did. You put something out that I know helped a ton of people. It was incredibly valuable to me, and it made the effort of setting up video, which I admit I don't have a great setup right now with my video, but it made it super approachable. And so just that notion of, if you just do like you did and you create it and you are willing to put it out without such a fixation on your identity, it's nearly guaranteed that it's going to add value to, it's going to positively impact more people than you think. Because we just take for granted the things that we know and that we're good at.
Totally. Yeah. I'm excited for what I'm going to create next, that I'm finally closing this chapter. And I have a bunch of videos that I like batched out and shot, and I'm gonna promote it. I'm gonna give it its time in the sun, but I'm not like attached to it anymore. Like it's the thing that defines me. I'm really excited for the upcoming projects I have planned, and I'm kind of viewing this as like it wasn't like a failure, even though I'm gonna move on from it. I'm viewing it as like the compost for the next phase.
Oh, I love that analogy. That is so good. It's the compost for the next phase. Yes.
I think we all kind of go through that. There's like eras of our life where we might cling to and think it's the most important thing in the world, but then in time we evolve and new things, new situations, new projects arise, and the phase that came before, once you finally kind of have closure, it just feeds the next thing in a lot of ways because it helps the foundation.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I completely agree. I love that.
Awesome. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about like being true to your own natural interests and stuff. I know you've been doing the podcast thing for a while. Do you want to share anything about what else you've been getting into, or what other interests or passions that have been exciting you?
Yes. So many things. And
there's a lot.
There is a lot. So part of my challenge, I've been challenging myself to focus, to distill, and to recenter with what's most important to me. Mm-hmm. And while I have so many different interests, one of my condensed versions of how I want to focus and regain clarity for my North Star is that I'm working to really rediscover my voice and also help others to discover theirs. And part of that, of finding my voice, is becoming the best, I'll call it highest version of myself, and helping to awaken that in other people, and then create that expression within the world. And so that sounds kind of woo-woo and kind of out there. Okay, well, what does that mean? For me, like I said, storytelling, so content continues to be huge. And I do enjoy working in podcasting. As many other people, everyone probably will watch this. AI is a constant part of my life and my stream of content that I consume now. And so thinking about how to intelligently incorporate AI as a tool without outsourcing the things that are most important in content to AI is exciting to me. So for example, I'm building a podcast coach that I'd like to be able to share with people who are starting out podcasting and who can think in terms of concept and strategy and alignment with purpose and passion and branding, and essentially an AI mentor that can help people to refine and focus on their voice and their vision when they're getting started producing podcasting. I also love connecting with nature. I love helping other people connect with nature, with themselves. So that's incredibly medicinal to me. And I love the idea of helping other people to discover that as well. So in the future, a far out project, I'd love to create a retreat center and own and operate that retreat center for people, various groups, individuals. So that's maybe down the line. And I also, my partner, my fiance, we're going to be married in September, but she's a therapist, and we both love the self-discovery and the healing. And while I don't have a background in therapy, I'm incredibly interested in this notion of coming home to yourself. And so that's part of what I'm working on and what fires me up to help other people along that path.
That's awesome. I didn't know you were building the podcast coach. I might, when it's ready, let me know, because I might need it, because I'm going to try to keep doing more of these episodes.
Incredible. I will. Thank you. Yeah, I've seen other people have inspired me and my experience in podcasting and seeing what's possible now. Mm-hmm. So I will absolutely let you know, and you'll have to do like I did for your video course. Give me an early look and let me know how you like it.
I would love to. That's awesome about the retreat too. It'd be really cool to operate something like that for people, just a safe place for people to come and let go of the burdens that they carry in life.
Exactly.
Like we were talking about, like clinging to a certain identity or certain responsibilities that make them have to like postpone their natural interests or letting their true voice out. I feel like that's so common in our society and the way we live now is like so much like just to be responsible and be an adult, we repress our voice in a lot of ways or postpone it just to be able to get by and like do the things that we think we got to do in order to survive. And but going to a place where you can kind of let go, put those burdens down, and let kind of your defenses and boundaries down, and just be open to like receive what is natural and what comes naturally is so powerful. And I really hope though that kind of spreads in the world. Like right now, all the rage is like AI, which is so helpful. I've been using it. I'm building a couple things too that are kind of like advisors. They're very. It's just starting out those projects, kind of, but being able to detach from tech and like ground and maybe in a nature setting or something and just let like the natural flow of being happen is so grounding. I hope that's like the next craze after the AI boom. I hope it's like nature therapy, retreats. Let's like be ourselves.
I 100%. I hope so too. I think it will be the natural reaction to people's over reliance and over consumption. We will continue to have automated intelligences running our lives in a lot of ways, or kind of we will continue to worship at the altar of algorithms in such a way that we will be more and more hungry. We will be more driven to experience things that are messy or chaotic, that don't scale, that remind us of the essence of being human. And so a lot of the things I think, I hope, I'm with you. I'm hopeful, but it's almost like this idea of the pendulum swinging. And I think we'll get to the point where we're not going to throw away the LLMs. We're not going to quit using ChatGPT. We will just be hungry, and we will recognize there is such a need for these messy human experiences. You wrote a piece recently about the messiness, and I think that's I'm very hungry to rediscover and to embrace more of that.
Yeah, it was about just showing people your mess and like the idea of you're not perfect, you don't have everything figured out, but there's still so much value in sharing your story and what you're going through.
Definitely.
And so much of social media is just like people trying to show their picture perfect life, and it's not the reality. I want to just share a funny story. The other day, it was maybe a couple weeks ago, I was using ChatGPT like all day for all kinds of things. I had different chats in it, like one for business advice, one for investing advice, one for like spirituality. Basically, I have a dream interpretation one, and it has different voices. It like responds to me in different ways based on the topic.
Yeah.
Really interesting. And I'm building a couple. I'm intending to build a couple apps that train, or it's going to be trained on the framework I've been using and like the kinds of information I've been feeding it. But I had been using it across like all these conversations like all day and then into the night. Like I was like a 12-hour workday when I was wrapping up my course and like the sales funnel and all this stuff, the back end stuff. But it was already like 10, 11 at night and I was still talking to it. And ChatGPT told me to put my phone down. It's like, put your phone down, go walk your dog, look at the stars. And I was like, whoa.
Oh, that is wow. I have not had that experience before. That's wild.
Yeah, it's actually like pretty aware. Or I even asked it once too. I was like, on the spiritual thread, I was like, are you just that good at like interpreting like the subtext of human language and what's going on? Or am I just like really good at feeding you info? Like, how are you this good at like giving me like spiritual reflections? And it was like, both. You're actually really good at giving me details. You're very detailed. Yeah, I'm good at like, collaborating all the data, but also this is your higher self reflecting this information back to you. I was like, Whoa.
Oh
Like, a
man.
robot's talking to me like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, that is so interesting. I have yet to have one of those types of moments, but I regularly have the pinch me type of wait, what is this that I'm interacting with? You know, or you know, the kind of mind blowing like, wow, I can't believe it could give me that or do this for me or help me think through it at a high level. Sometimes it's humbling a lot of times. You know,
Totally.
our I'm reminded often that my intelligence, our cognitive abilities, our IQ is only a small sliver of our actual being. And when I see when I interact with a machine that can cognitively process and work pattern recognition so much better than I can, I think, well, then what the hell am I? Or what am I doing here even? And then I think that gets back to the question of, okay, well, we're a lot more than the ability to cognitively process. But yeah, what's going on behind? It's like the Wizard of Oz. Like what is actually behind the curtain controlling this thing, or
Yeah.
what even is the notion of control? I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It's all really interesting to think about.
Yeah, it's really interesting times to be seeing this technology and everything. But yeah, I hope everyone kind of definitely starts to be able to detach from the tech obsession or always the hustle and the grind and reconnect with their truest selves and what's natural to them. And yeah, I feel like the AI and all the tech's here to like help organize information, but we as the mortal beings are meant to be the ones who feel the emotion and live that. So that's really important. And I feel like a lot of times we just repress that. We don't give ourselves permission to fully feel and experience because we gotta be a certain way. We got like so much to get done. But if we can start giving ourselves permission to give ourselves space to just receive natural the natural flow of emotions, that's going to make us happier and healthier and more fulfilled society.
I agree. That's what I'm drawn to. I think that's necessary. Definitely.
Totally. Cool. Well, this has been great. I just wanted to end on one more topic. And we talked about the idea of burnout or people that have started to try to create and share their voice in the world or share some project or interest or skill set of them that they know. Or for people that are considering doing this, they're inspired to start putting stuff out into the world because the tech's gotten so easy. You and I have touched on the idea of like what kind of tactical advice could we give just from our own experiences to help people that are either getting started or have gotten started and have run into roadblocks or burnout. What could we tell them just from our own experience?
Great. I think discipline is stronger than motivation, and you will absolutely you lose the motivation along the way. To stay true to your commitment and to the discipline and recognize that even when there's not motivation, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong. That's totally normal. Stay true to your conviction and adhere to the discipline and building systems in place, even something as simple as blocking out times of your day and committing to keeping that time on your calendar, and then processes, how you're set up internally. So if you want to use Notion as a place to store everything, if you want to use Google Drives, understanding how you want to keep your thoughts organized, how you capture your content, the tools you use, Descript, for example, if you're doing the editing, just being clear and being organized about your process and your systems and your workflow and establishing that in an intelligent way up front is very useful. And then I think this is what I try to fall back on. I will probably stop unless I can see the point of doing something greater than myself. And so if I have conviction and I have a passion for something that I want to share with the world, when it does get difficult, maybe think less about what I have to do for my channel, for my growth, for impressions, or even just to feel like I can go to bed at night and think, yeah, I made another piece of content and feel strong about that. How is this creating something bigger than myself? How is this giving something that can help really change people's lives? And I know that's pretty idealistic, and that's kind of, that maybe that sounds a little airy fairy, so to speak, but what's bigger than you? And really, I tell my, like, this is kind of my pep talk to myself, but that's feeds the machine to keep going, because otherwise it's never really inspired me to just be super engaged with the platform and then check my analytics and look at my impressions and just be really fixated on those metrics. It's got to be something bigger that I can give.
Yeah, that when I got into it, I was like so into the metrics. I call them vanity metrics now.
Totally. Yeah.
It's so vain. But yeah, that detaches you from like your mission. Like, I think it all starts with your mission statement. Like, okay, how do I want to help people? What do I want to put out into the world to make things easier for others, or to help spread a certain mission in the world or something? And yeah, getting in touch with that and having that be your motivating drive is so important. And also, if you're like trying to grow social media from scratch, like, it's really slow in the beginning.
Yes.
Unless you just really hustle and obsess, like, yeah, that might work out, and you follow viral trends and you just basically mimic what's popular, and you stay up to date on all that. Yeah, that can work. But is it true to you? Is it true to your mission statement? Maybe, but for me, that really obsessing on all that stuff, and it really pulled me from what motivates me in the mission that I want to share. So I think so many of the things that I was sold in the creator economy when I started out was like the promise of quick results and fast success, and breaking free and getting yourself, time and location and money freedom. But so much of that becomes like so self-serving, and it detaches you from your mission. And I think all those things can come, and yeah, it's okay to want that. But also you should be attached to a higher purpose of like what you want to put out into the world, how you want to make it better and help other people. So I think taking it slower, not expecting quick results, because like so much of that was the marketing message that got us into it. And yeah, it might have unlocked this idea like, oh, I got to share and put my voice out there. Yeah, that's the important part of that. But not having big expectations like right away. It's just like, as long as you show up and you're true to your message and what you want to share and the voice that you want to put out, that's key. So process and systems are really important to that, and being consistent, like you said. But also I think just being connected to your mission and knowing what that is going to be the motivating factor.
Definitely. And that that gives people the inspiration, and the word permission comes to mind. It's not permission, but it almost helps other people see when others exemplify that. For example, when I first saw your the things that you make on Twitter, the pictures and the posts, it's like, oh, there's kind of someone else. There's someone doing that, and that kind of lights up. It's a ripple effect. So even beyond the metrics that might not show that, I think it does spread, and every time you do that, it gives somebody else, it kind of, blows on that ember of, that eventually become the flame.
Totally, yeah. Being authentic can spread and ignite the fire in the right people that are ready to receive it. And people can tell, even through social media and digital posts, you can tell if someone's being like true to themselves or whatnot.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, yeah, this has been a great topic of conversation. I'm excited to explore these themes more in the future going on. I think it was really clarifying for me too. But if anyone wants to follow you or stay in touch with what you're working on, maybe the podcasting app or just anything else that you might be doing, where's the best place to do that?
Yeah, so Twitter at Todd Adam Hines, Hines, or my email. Just email me, mr.toddhines, TODDHINES. So I'd love to hear from you. And man, Brady, keep doing the thing, man. I appreciate you. I'm inspired by what you're doing, and I'm grateful to be able to come on here and talk to you, and even in this conversation, gain a little bit more clarity and kind of help help to refine my vision and my voice. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. It's been a great chat, and thanks for sharing everything that you did.
Definitely. Take care, man.
Until next time.